Children's Academy is very proud of this former student who is one of India's leading authors with more than 12 books to his name. I am in conversation with Neil DSilva, who is a prolific writer and spins horror stories. Some of his best-selling titles are Maya's New Husband, Yakshini, and Haunted, to name a few. Neil is also one of the top 7 Indian horror authors to be read by UK's Desi Blitz magazine. Back home, in Children's Academy, the annual literature festival is his baby. He is the creative director of Litventure and much more. So welcome, Neil, and we would want to know a little more about you.
Thank you so much. It's an extreme pleasure to be here, back to the school where it all began. Thanks so much for having me over.
So, Neil, in the current position that you are, how do you think Children's Academy has supported you to be what you are today?
So, as you very kindly introduced me, I'm an author. I write books and I specialize in horror. That's my genre. Now, being an author is by itself quite a literary endeavor.
Absolutely.
You have to work with words, you have to work with language, you have to be very attuned to people's emotions.
True.
You have to observe how things are around you. I think all these skills, they are developed over time.
I agree.
It is not something that you one day set out to like, okay, from today I'm going to observe the world a little better.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen that way. It has to be imbibed, inculcated in you right from the start.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from the time that you are a child. It comes when, I think you have to be in the right environment to assimilate.
I completely agree. That's true.
Now, consciously, if you think, how did the school help me in becoming an author? You know, the very direct way of telling this is, of course, we were grounded a lot in writing essays and elocutions. I used to participate a lot in all these events. In fact, I gave my board in the March of 1991.
Okay.
So before that, whenever there would be like 7th standard, 8th standard, 9th and 10th, wherever there would be a kind of a literary competition,
Yeah.
Mukundan sir would make sure that I went for it. So, and the teachers would then ground me, train me, etc. so that I put my best foot forward. And we won a few prizes at that time as well.
Okay.
So I think this was where it started.
Okay.
Plus, of course, the classroom lessons.
Mm-hmm.
I remember very well all the English lessons through the years,
Mm-hmm.
especially Mukundan sir's lessons, because when he used to teach, he had this particular habit where he would read the lesson, explain it, and then go step by step, sentence by sentence,
True.
working on the grammar of it, working on the vocabulary of it. And you know, I don't know about the other kids in the class, but I used to enjoy those things because I had a way with words even back then. So I used to always like listen very attentively and then go back home and refer to those words in a dictionary. We didn't have the internet, so refer to those in a dictionary. I was probably one of the only students who owned a thesaurus.
Okay.
And I did that because one of my sirs, I think in the 7th grade or somebody, I don't remember exactly which sir, I'm sorry about that, but I had heard that there is this one kind of book called as a thesaurus which gives you all synonyms and antonyms.
Correct.
So I told my dad I want a thesaurus. He got it for me. And since then I made it a habit of referring to a thesaurus as well. So I think all these small things, we call them small things, but they all
Helped you to put them.
become a big thing, you know.
Big thing,
It's kind of, they all snowball into what you become later on in life.
Correct.
When I wrote my first book, that was in 2015, it came out of me quite organically.
Okay.
Like when I see authors now attempting to write their books, they have to, they attend writing workshops, they try to see so many internet videos where they learn the writing craft and all. I did not have to do that. I did not have to do that for multiple reasons. One of the reasons was because my language was strong, and that
So it came naturally to you.
it came because even in school, and plus all the books that I read, I was a voracious reader even back then, and not just academic books. They were only 10% of what I read.
Yeah.
The major reading was all novels from all over.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think that all helped. So it's all a cumulative effort.
I can understand. But my question again, so did you decide to be an author in school, or were there other plans?
Oh yes, oh yes. But it was a more of a dream back then, you know. I don't come from a literary family. My dad was an employee at a bicycle company.
Okay.
So, but he flooded the house with books. That is what he did.
Correct.
And whenever I would read a book and like it, I wanted to be on the cover. I mean, I wanted a book like that, and I wanted my name to be on the cover someday. So this was kind of a dream.
Yeah.
I didn't have any means to realize it. I did not know how I would do it. And once I did this in the grade 7 vacations, I actually took my dad's typewriter and I wrote a story.
Oh.
I wrote it, I typed it. In fact, I typed it and then I sat and bound it. You know, nails and thread and all that, hammer. I bound it. I even drew the cover. And that copy, I circulated it among my friends and a few teachers as well.
Okay.
So,
wow.
And I wrote my name on the cover. That was the big thing. And when I gave it to them, I just asked like how it is. It was, of course, a very amateurish effort.
But that's somewhere the dream, you know, becoming a dream. The dream becoming a reality, actually.
And that's where you get that encouragement.
Encouragement.
And I'll tell, even my classmates were very kind. They also said good words about it. So I think that somewhere stayed with me. Correct. Though of course life took its turn later on and I entered into a business of my own, and for about 20 years I went into that direction. But then when I quit my business, it was to fulfill my passion of writing.
But then did writing continue? But did writing continue at that time?
In some form or the other.
Yeah. Okay.
As an author, I resumed writing, or I wrote my first book in 2015, which was like around, I left school in 1991. But in the interim years, I was still writing, but differently. I used to help my dad with movie scripts. My dad used to subtitle movies from Hindi to English. So I used to sit with him and first learn the process, and then I also started scripting. I also started writing the Hindi dialogues on this side and the translation in English on this side. Movies like Shahenshah, I translated bits of it on my own when I was a kid. Then I went on to do some freelance writing. Content writing, that is writing for websites. So that was where I honed my craft a little bit, because there I was working for US clients, UK clients, and they have very strict standards that need to be met. I wrote for an in-flight magazine. I wrote a couple of articles for newspapers.
I see.
But my first book came out in 2015. So
all right. So as I see, you had the keenness, the interest, and of course the school was the biggest ground where you could build it up further. But what about the home front? Bringing books home by parents is like, this is my child's hobby. He is a reader. He loves to read. But for you to tell them that I would want to be an author. So, you know, generally they say, so what are you going to do to earn money? You know, the general reaction of the parents. So how did you deal with that? Was there any such remark or a reaction from the parents?
Firstly, I think my writing, the whole passion for writing came from two fronts. The school was definitely there.
Yes.
Though at that time in school, nobody knew that I wanted to be a writer. I had never told that to anybody. They just, maybe they might have got an inkling of it, but I never told them directly. But my parents did know that I wanted to write, because firstly, it was my dad who put this habit in me. He was a big time bibliophile. So my house, when we moved house, we needed 3 trucks to move everything, and 1 truck was for books only, his books, and he read books across genres, across languages, across subjects. He was just like crazy about books, and because there were these books in the house all the time, we had free access. Like me and my brother, we could just go and pick any book we wanted and read. So I read books like Dracula, Frankenstein, all those classics in school itself during the holidays, even during the school days, because I did not actually sit and study like how kids do today. I would read books. So I think that my parents already knew that I would write.
They must have got an inkling already.
Yes, I'm sure, because my dad, he brought whichever book I told him to. Even though we come from a very middle class family, so for us at that time, investing in a book, even an annual subscription for Tinkle was a little bit we would think like twice.
Yeah.
Whether we should do that. Amay Chitrakatha, okay, that becomes
Yeah.
more expensive. Then Champak, Chandamama, it becomes more expensive. Then I graduated onto reading foreign magazines, like there was Tintin and Asterix and all those things. So it went on becoming expensive. But my parents never told me that, okay, we'll not spend on books for you.
Mm.
So I got a lot of.
They could see a larger picture growing there.
Maybe. And my dad was a writer himself.
Correct.
He was translating movies, so he was in a way a part of the whole creative industry. So yeah.
So Anil, there's one question constantly lingering my mind. Why horror?
Why?
Why horror and no other genre that you could think? I mean, what is it that really attracted you towards? I mean, I would say attractive is a wrong word for horror. So why horror?
No,
is
there is
my
definitely
question.
the lure for horror. I love the genre. I find it to be a very interesting and challenging genre to write.
Is it?
Because see, fear is something that you cannot fake. You cannot. But it's very difficult to make a person scared with words. With words.
Yes.
With visuals, with sound, you can do it easily. But with words, to bring the heebie-jeebies onto them,
I mean, I really,
it's
to think of it.
not an easy task. I think my penchant for writing horror, it went on again from the times of school. My dad was, as I told you, a subtitlist, and one of his biggest clients were the Ramsey brothers.
Oh, okay.
So every Ramsey movies, whether it was Dak Bangla, Veerana, Teh Khana, Purana Mandir, all these movies would come to my house, and Dad would translate them in the night, because daytime he had a job. So in the night he would sit on his typewriter and translate all those horror movies sitting on his typewriter. And I would sit next to him sometimes and just watch, even as a 7th and 8th grader.
Okay.
And I would watch it, and I would see the songbooks, I would see the monsters pictures, I would love them.
Okay.
So I think I had this fascination right from that time.
Okay.
Plus in my house there was no censorship as such.
All
You know, my parents never told me, okay, don't read this is not for your age.
right. Acha.
Because I read things like Dracula, Man in the Iron Mask and all right in that age. And I think somehow, because we grew up in the 90s, 80s and 90s, times were more lonely then. Then it was
And simple too.
simple, and we didn't have so many friends like how we have now. Now the whole world is your friend.
Yeah,
You can talk to
that's
anybody.
true.
In those days, our growing up was quite lonely, secluded, isolated. In the school, you had friends.
Yes.
Then you had friends in the evening when you went down to play. But what about the rest of the time? Afternoons were lonely, and I was a very imaginative, fanciful kid. So my
books
mind
were
would just
natural to
wander.
you.
Yeah, so
The books were
going
natural.
to those dark areas
Correct.
came quite easily to me.
Easily.
Also, I was a big time coward. As a child, I was scared
Okay.
of everything. Cockroaches, lizards.
That's quite ironical,
darkness.
actually.
It's in fact right on spot, because I understand fear, I can make you afraid.
Oh yes, that's the other way to
Because
look at
if
it.
I was the bravest guy in the world, how would I make you
Yeah,
afraid if I don't
actually.
understand the psychology of fear?
Correct.
So I have spent my childhood being afraid of everything. If there was a death in our building, I would like shiver.
So like kind of a blessing in disguise.
Oh, yes,
So the fear came to you as a blessing.
So somehow, I came out of it, and I'll tell you, writing my first horror book was a kind of catharsis.
Oh.
Because when I wrote a horror book, and I wrote the scariest book ever, it was my trial by fire, because I was also facing my fears, my phobias. I was coming out of it one by one.
Okay.
That's how it happened.
Have your books been translated into another language?
Illegally, yes.
Okay.
Illegally in Bangladesh, somebody pirated my book. They translated it into Bengali, and they just bootlegged the copies everywhere. That was without my permission, without the publisher's permission and all. But we cannot file suit because it is out of the country.
Yeah.
My publishers tell me, take this as a imitation is the best form of flattery kind of thing. So yeah.
So Neil, coming back to school, you are one of those former students of Children's Academy who has seen Children's Academy in its nascent days.
I have.
Very modest beginning.
Yes.
So what are your impressions of that time and then the journey further on?
We did have very modest beginnings, that is for sure. Because I remember the times when I think the school started around a few years before I joined. I started schooling in 77, 78, and I think the school started a little before that. We had our school compound. This is Malad now where we are sitting, Bachani Nagar. This is where our first school was. And it was a couple of like just rows of rooms, classrooms on the ground floor.
Okay.
There was just that. And this compound, exactly where the building is right now, was empty. I mean, it was like a ground.
Okay.
And the rows of classrooms which I'm talking about, they were in a U-shaped formation.
Okay.
And then there was the gate, if I remember correctly, because I was a child at that time. And we had these classrooms going on there. Then we had one more premises in Good Luck, and just next to us, and one was in Ishwar Bhavan. We had just these. And classrooms were few, so they were not enough for us because the school was growing and more children were coming. But one thing was there. Even in that years, even in my youngest years, I remember everybody praising the school like anything. Especially those kids who did not come to Children's Academy, who are not from our school.
Okay.
So those kids and their parents who were from other schools, they would say, Children's में जाता है, मतलब तो उसका studies perfect होगा, ये होगा, discipline बहुत अच्छा होगा. So all those things we got right from that time, and I'll tell you, my mother was always very proud to tell anybody that my son is a Children's Academy student. I'll tell you that story also, but a little bit later. So that was the kind of thing. That is the impression I had right from the start.
Okay.
We all knew that in Children's Academy you have to work harder than the other kids.
True.
But then we knew also that that is because the result is going to be better, and that reflected in my results. I was a topper throughout all my years. That happened only because the school was so strict. If I had been in another school, I don't know, maybe life would have been very different. Which happened in college for me. I didn't get a good college.
Okay.
So then I understood the difference, that if I had been in a better college, I would have done better in my college years also. So I can compare that way.
Yeah.
And because I had a coaching class for 18 years. So I had students from all schools. So I have been very close to them. I have also understood how different schools work. And even from that, I can say that we are leagues ahead. Children's has always been leagues ahead, even in Bhatsar's times.
I can completely resonate that with today's times as well, especially after the lockdown. Even during the lockdown, people realized that this school is dealing with learning and educating children in a very different way compared to the other schools. So which means that philosophy or those methodologies continue to be the same, and it has given us fruits.
Very
really,
much.
very
and
much.
We didn't start with a lot of resources.
Absolutely.
When we started, it was quite threadbare.
Yeah, as I said, it was simple times.
And I remember one time there was this monsoon. I think I was in the 4th grade, and we were sitting in this classroom. We had Khan teacher. She was teaching us English and all. And it started raining. Now there was this chapra at that time, just that tin roof kind of thing. Yeah. So that was there, and it started raining, and the rain, it came inside the classroom, and all us kids, what we did, the class didn't stop. We opened our umbrellas and we sat.
Yeah. So it can only be imagined.
I remember that scene so vividly. Because such things don't go out of your mind, right?
Actually. And can be imagined only in those times, not today.
Today, it's not
today,
possible.
definitely not. Definitely
today, even
not.
if the AC is not working, they will run out of class.
I'm sure. Neil, you are also one of those fortunate few who has come in close contact with our founder principal, late Bhatsar.
Yes.
So what are your memories, or what is your impression of
a couple of memories here and there? Bhatsar was very, we were all very terrified of him, but that was out of respect.
Really? Okay, yeah, of course.
Because we were kids, right? And Bhatsar was this towering personality.
And yet unassuming.
Very much.
Yeah.
I'm saying as we saw him as a student.
Yeah.
So very imposing, and at the same time you never shouted, you never heard him raise his voice.
Yes.
It was just his presence that made you feel something, like something is in the air around you.
Correct.
So the visuals that I have of him is of standing in the middle of that compound which I spoke to you about, and surveying the classrooms all at one go. Means he would just stand there and he would look at all the classrooms. Means nowadays the principals have to take rounds of the classrooms. In those days he had to just stand in one spot and see all around. So that visual is there, because in the afternoons when our classes were going on, we could see him outside there, and nobody dared to make a peep. because he was there. Okay, I remember this time. This my mother told me later that when she came for the admissions and all, it was for junior KG, and in those days the rules were different from what they are now. So Bhatt sir was interviewing me. He was interviewing the parents and the kids like the principals too. So he asked me stuff like days of the week and all this I knew even before coming to school. So Bhatt sir gave me a big chocolate and all, and mother told me that he told that put him in a higher grade already. He doesn't need to be in this grade.
Okay.
So that was the first time my mother came to know that okay, I have something in means बच्चा intelligent है ये माँ बाप को कैसा पता चलता है. So this was Bhatt sir who I actually told without teaching me, but within those 5 minutes of talk he had said that. You know what that did? That gave my mother confidence.
Absolutely.
Because she did not know what she was doing. As I told you, money was a problem in those days, and many people had told her put your son in this school or this school or this school. They named several other schools, but then my mother said no, I'll put him in Children's Academy only. And I don't know, they are very strict about admissions, but I'll go and put him. And then the interview happened, and then she got that boost of confidence. And so that helped me also, by induction. So that is one thing I remember. And I remember I would be remiss not to mention this. I was in 10th grade.
Okay.
It was the farewell day.
And this was in which year?
1991.
Okay.
It was a farewell day. So nowadays we have this big farewell in the compound and all. In those days we had our farewells in our classrooms only. So every classroom had made their own plan, like how we will celebrate the farewell. It was like that in those days. And in our classroom, our class teacher and I and all that, we decided that okay, we'll have a small party and all, but Bhatt sir, Mukundan sir, and they are coming on rounds. Even Rohan sir at that time, he had just started a few years back. So we'll come around and we'll go to every classroom and we'll just see what's happening. So we decided that okay, let's give a speech, because if Bhatt sir is coming, apne classroom mein we'll stand and give a speech. And to give the speech, I was chosen. So by then I had given a lot of speeches. I used to go to inter-school and all and give speeches. But when Bhatt sir came in the room and I was to give the speech, I fumbled at the second sentence itself. And I froze. I did not know what to say. Whatever I don't prepare. I never prepare my speeches even in those days. I say what I feel like, but I just froze and I had this complete block. I did not know what to say. But sir understood perhaps that I was like in awe of him. So then he said something which I remember even now. He just said, don't worry about the words, just express your thoughts. And see, that's what I do in my writing.
Such a beautiful thing for coming from a visionary like Bhatt sir.
Because we do that. We often get trapped in the
web of words.
In the web of words.
Correct.
In the way that we are going to express ourselves. We are more worried about how we look, how we are going to speak things.
And words would please.
But that's not what he wanted. He told me, just tell me what's in your heart. That's fine. That's a speech.
What a wonderful thing.
It was just one sentence. He said it more succinctly. I am elaborating on it. But this is what he said and this is what I got.
But it has hung on to you.
It has.
Yes.
Because that, such impactful statements, they
absolutely
never leave you.
So in your estimation, what was or what is that one quality that stayed on with you, and it also helped you in building up your career?
The discipline, of course. It's the discipline. Because now I'm an author. Nobody is actually chasing me like do the work now. There's a deadline. You have to do this. Today you have to submit this. Nobody is telling me that. It's very easy for me to just lay on my couch or watch Netflix and just give up everything.
Correct.
It's very easy for me because there is no incentive. There is no deadline or anything.
There's no nagging of that.
There is nothing. It has to come by instinct.
Yes.
But because I have learned this in school maybe, and afterwards in my freelancing life, I had to actually be very much on deadline. So because of all that, today as an author I have 12 books out. In fact, I have 4 more deals going on right now. These books would not have happened if that discipline was not there, of doing the homework, of doing the assignments on time. True. And other school children are very laid back about all this. Even now I see that. But our children are very particular.
They are.
I have 2 kids in children's academy.
Yes, I was
myself.
just coming to that. Yes. Yes. So your children now are, they have been students of Children's Academy. So that also speaks about the good part of Children's Academy. What changes have you seen vis-a-vis, like you as a student vis-a-vis your children today as students?
So my son Gilmore, he is now in 11th. He just is on the brink. He'll be in 12th in a few days.
Okay.
And my daughter is still here. She's in the 8th grade. So both of them are in the ICSE. Of course, now the school is entirely ICSE. So I'll tell you an anecdote. So Gilmore is now in St. Xavier's and he has taken science. For his admission, I went to the college and there was this big queue. So many children had come from all over. All those who were on the list, they had come and their parents were there. And there was this brief interview. So the interview was being taken by the vice principal and the HOD of the biology department.
Okay.
So these 2 teachers were in the classroom and the students were being called one by one with their parents. There was a big queue in front of us and all these kids who went with their parents one by one, they took time. I don't know what time, and we were just waiting. And finally our number came. And when our turn came, we went in and we gave them the school leaving certificate which we had. Immediately, oh, you are from Children's Academy.
No questions asked.
No questions asked. And this school is on the other side of town.
I can. Yes, of course. In the so-called suburbs.
Yes.
Yes.
So they saw that and immediately they are like, oh my God, Children's Academy, you are coming here, so nice. Many children students come here and they are always disciplined. We don't have to work that hard on them because their grounding is already done so well.
Yeah.
So all those things, and they stood up. And
I'm sure you must be itching to tell them I'm also a CA
I
student.
did tell them. So that's
yes.
why. And I also told that my wife is now a teacher at Children's Academy as well.
Yeah.
So they were very, very happy. And this has reflected in the entire year because now Gilmore is like, he's already famous in school. All teachers know him.
I'm sure.
And he's doing well in college also. Because in college, 11th standard is a year that nobody pays attention. But he's done well. And so this is, I think this tells you, this sums it up.
Correct.
Like how the school has managed its reputation. It has only grown.
Which is
from what was that at that time till today. Today we are going globally. I know, I see the reports, I see all these things. So we are on par with, I would say, the most expensive so-called schools of the city. Because we have this value for money thing which also I have come to know about.
Correct. Yeah. Quality education at the most affordable price. And we have lived up to it.
That's very philanthropic, right?
Yes, it is.
That was also Bhatt's view at that time. Because I know he used to actually go and tell parents that apne bacche ko school mein dalo. Because later it became compulsory that education has to be given to a kid. Right to education came later.
Yeah.
But earlier it was like some parents would just opt out of it.
And not just education, holistic education.
Yes.
That is what it
that came
Children's
slowly,
Academy
but
became different.
It did come.
Yeah, Children's Academy was differentiated on that basis primarily. Holistic education.
And well deserved.
Of course. So talking about books and reading, you must have seen a sea change in the reading habits, the kind of books which are appreciated today. And sadly are those bygone days where Amar Chitra Katha used to be the hero, and Champak and Nandan and all these books, and of course Tintin. Those were our all-time favorites then, and I think for our generation even today. But when you drop names like Amar Chitra Katha, for all you know, most of my mythology information has come from Amar Chitra Katha.
Yeah.
But while in classroom you mention or you drop these names, children are completely clueless.
Yeah. So I think there has been a change in the way content is being consumed now. I'm speaking even as literature or elsewhere. We used to read books because we had books at that time as our main source of reading.
And entertainment.
We had nothing else to do. But today there are many other avenues also. Like there are electronic readers. Correct. Then there are the mobile phones where children are consuming content. We feel as parents, we definitely feel that children are just wasting their time on the phone.
Yeah.
But a lot of children are actually going to YouTube videos and getting information from that, or surfing the internet and getting something from there. So that I encourage.
Yeah.
That I encourage. Like my son, he finds out information and he talks to me about it. He then discusses whether this is true or this is not true. That's the right way to do it. But using these distractions for the wrong intents,
Yeah.
that is not something that we
And
will
not
do.
something which is age appropriate also.
Correct.
Yeah.
But at this point, I will also say that this generation of our kids is much smarter than we
Yeah,
were.
of course we were.
I
It was
don't know.
once again
Whether-
very simple. Simpletons, as we would address
Yes, we were
ourselves.
very
Yeah.
simple. So these are smarter. They know what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah, true.
So for my children, I have given a kind of freedom to an extent. Because if I don't do that, it might come across like I'm trying to control them. Because nowadays children are very exposed
Yeah.
to the the way children live out there in the West. I mean,
And very
the US
sensitive
and all.
also.
And they understand things very
Yeah.
well. I mean, they will immediately tell that dad, don't try to control me.
Yeah.
Okay, just like for example, my son is growing his hair, I'm allowing him to grow his hair.
Yeah.
It hardly makes a difference to my life,
True.
or to his also for that matter. He likes it, he grows it.
Yeah.
That's fine. So, okay, coming to the main question, that is about books and all. So, we did try to bring reading, the classic form of reading, back into the academy, back into the children's
Yeah.
lives. And we have been successful at it. We are still doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I had a chat with Rohan sir a few years back, that I think 5 or 6 years ago, and Rohan sir and I were just discussing like what do we do to improve the reading habits of children in a way that they will like, they will enjoy. So then we came up with this suggestion, let us start a literature festival in school itself.
And bingo, it did.
We did
It
it,
did
and
in a
that,
big way.
that was Litventure, which we
Yes.
did. And in Litventure what we do is we bring authors, as many as we can,
Okay.
to come in very close contact with the children and to share the ideas. It's an exchange of ideas. There are
Yeah.
workshops, and now a lot of children are into writing.
Exactly. I was just coming to that. With a few literature chapters, a few of them have happened, and we have our own children writing
Yeah.
in whatever level, but they are writing.
They are writing.
Yeah.
They are picking up a pen and making the effort to
Correct.
write.
Correct.
In my days, I wanted to write, but I had no platforms.
Correct.
I didn't know how to do it. But now children know how to do it. And I'll tell you, they are so savvy, they will know how to go on Amazon KDP and upload their book themselves.
Correct.
A lot of children. I'm a mentor with Scholastic also, Scholastic Writers Academy.
Yeah.
So in that I have mentored around 300 children
Oh.
to write.
Okay.
So it's like so far. So they have been writing and it's fantastic. Children have such amazing ideas. So I'll tell you, the creativity has not gone anywhere.
Ah.
It has only increased. What is our big nag is that why are children not sitting with a book and reading like we used to do?
So creativity is there.
Creativity is definitely there.
So according to you, Chat GPT is not a threat.
It's not a threat.
Okay.
Chat GPT is a search engine at the
Okay.
end of the day so
Okay.
far, because AI is going to improve. By the time the people are going to listen to this will be a very outdated
I'm sure.
conversation.
Yeah.
But as it stands now, Chat GPT is just a search engine. People were threatened of Google also at once upon a
Yeah.
time.
True.
They were very scared. Oh my God, Google आ गया. Google कुछ भी search कर सकता है. It can find anything about you. But Google is no longer a threat. It still is, but we don't know what the
Yeah,
threat is.
yeah.
ChatGPT will also live out its life like this. It will. Right now we are scared of it because we don't know from where it is pulling the answers. It is pulling the answers from the internet itself. ChatGPT, as far as I think and I infer, cannot find something that is not existing on the internet.
Okay.
It will go to the very deepest crevices and find that response, whatever it is, make its own structure to it and give it.
So in a way, filter it for you from the Google.
Correct. And it's very convenient that way.
Actually.
So if I have to find out something like how do I go about starting a company, now I can either go to 10 different websites and get different information, or I can just go to ChatGPT, which will give me a concise information taken from all those 10. So that way it is better. Now, if there is a follow-up question, like if how to start a publishing company, okay, for example, I was researching on that. So then I come to what are the permissions I need. So I can just go on asking questions. It's
Asking
like having a
questions.
conversation with a friend.
Okay. Yeah.
Only difference is the friend is not a friend. It's a search engine.
Yes.
So I think that's a very good technology. I'm completely for ChatGPT. Of course, it has to improve.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So what are the future plans for Lit Venture? Are we coming in with some novel ideas for more chapters to come in?
We have already started thinking creatively for the next year's edition. We have finished 5 editions so far, 5 chapters, 5 years. And last year's was the biggest one. So many authors, and the feedback was excellent. Even now, people are continuing the feedback. So I'm already being approached by some big bookstores and all for collaborations. They want to bring their own events into literature, which we are all surveying, we are all seeing how it goes. The basic idea of literature is to make children read, like how I used to read. So
and that has to continue.
Read books,
that has to continue.
Read, and I don't say that always read only books. Read whatever you can, acquire knowledge. Use your own brains, get a sense of what is right and what is wrong, because that is what, when we talk about holistic education, that is what it is all about. The sense of, what is right, what is wrong. That is what it all boils down to.
Yeah. So and that comes with knowledge. That comes with
knowledge. Why are I would be digressing a little bit if I say the most of the problems that we have today is because people do not know how other cultures are. People do not understand differences. So we look at only ourselves and we want everybody to be like ourselves. This kind of inward looking is not going to help us. If we are going to become a progressive nation, then we have to look at the whole world.
And I'm glad our students are in a progressive school, which gives them the platform and the avenues to broaden their horizons.
Otherwise, it wouldn't work.
Yeah. So coming back to your school days, any one particular teacher or teacher who left an indelible mark on you?
All of them.
Really?
All of them. Because I was never out of the school as such. I was always in contact with the teachers. We kept meeting them. Mukundan sir, for sure, Raja sir, Indira teacher, then Rohila teacher. She was one of the big favorites. And of course Ali sir, Ahmed sir, all of these people, mostly the 10th standard teachers, because they worked so hard.
That's true.
But I'll tell you, I have got great memories with all of them personally. I should also mention Arur teacher. She was quite senior even at that time, and she used to teach us Marathi. And Marathi was a language that I was always weak in, though my mother tongue is Konkani, but still, Marathi was a little tough for me. But when she came in the 9th and 10th standard to teach us Marathi, it drastically improved. Now you gave me a very big word, an indelible mark. Okay, so that I would reserve for Indira teacher.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. So there was this 9th standard, I think. Yeah. 9th standard Teachers' Day. So we had a kind of program, and that program was that the students will go and teach in other classrooms. I think that happens even now. But that was the first year.
The tradition. Yes.
That was the first year.
Okay.
So I was in 9th grade and I volunteered. I will teach. I like teaching even at that time. And I used to also give tuition at home, my dad's students. So I said I will teach. Indira teacher was very happy because I was her favorite. I was a favorite of all teachers. That's why my classmates hated me a lot. They still hate to this day, but that's a different thing. So anyway, Indira teacher said, okay, so I'll prepare you. Which standard do you want to teach? Now look at my vanity. I said, I'll teach 10th standard. I was in 9th. She said, you'll teach 10th standard.
Oh.
They will eat you alive. I said, no, I want to do that. And then she said, okay, then I will choose this topic for you. And she did not say no.
Yeah.
She did not say don't do it.
Yeah.
She said, okay, I'll train you. I'll tell you what to exactly do. And she gave me the chapter on lead. Lead was one topic. Also, I took chemistry.
Okay.
So, which is one of the most tough subjects because that was what she was teaching us. So, I wanted to also do that. So, I took lead. And then she took me in the staff room one day after class and she explained to me the chapter first. And she said, okay, you're teaching, then you teach. Okay, but this is the way you have to, all the markers she gave me. She did not tell me how to teach. She just explained the chapter.
Achha.
And then I went on Teachers' Day. Before Teachers' Day, I had a rehearsal. So the rehearsal was in, I think, 9th C. So in 9th C, I went and I taught lead. Okay.
Must have been a smooth sail there.
It went very well.
I'm sure.
And 9C was my rival kind of class, so it was difficult, but it went well. Then I went and taught the 10th grade. on the teacher's day. And when I went, Indira teacher actually brought the other teachers to come and see how he's teaching.
Oh.
I saw them, they were all standing at the door, some of them who were on the rounds, and they were watching.
Okay.
And I taught, and then I heard later Indira teacher was also very happy with it. She also told the students that, okay, now to let you know, I don't have to.
That was nice. I trust Indra teacher to say that.
So kind of.
Yeah, very kind of.
But that gave me a lot of impetus. Like, you know,
Sure.
later on when I started my coaching class, there's not a day that went by in my coaching class when I did not think of
her or even mention.
That was my first classroom kind of experience.
So, all right, Neil, if this conversation was to be heard, say 20 years or 30 years from now, you've been a student of this school, say 30 years ago. And if somebody was to hear, our listeners were to hear this a few years from now, what would be your message to them?
Oh, my message.
Or what would you want to tell them?
Okay. See, I will tell them, I don't know, times will definitely change by then.
Surely.
Lots of things are going to change. But I think one thing is going to be constant. And that is, we have to take our own initiatives in life. It is like, see, opportunities will keep coming. And opportunities come for everyone. For me also in life, a lot of opportunities came. Like when my teachers used to tell, would you like to participate in a debate? Half the class would not raise their hand, I would.
Yeah.
So I would take that opportunity. Same way Indira teacher, when she said, do you want to teach? I did that. Author, when I could write a book, I took the initiative and wrote. So what I'm trying to tell is that our growth, it comes from within. And we have to be able to understand where these opportunities are, and then we have to take them.
Yeah.
Because that is only when you grow. If you study about the successful people in this world, whether it is Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or Elon Musk or anybody, these are the people who have been the go-getters.
Yeah.
Why do
Undoubtedly.
it's not, I don't believe or I don't agree that these may be the most talented people in the world. I'm sure there were many other talented people, geniuses languishing around.
Yeah.
There are many writers who are better than me, but they have not published books yet. Why? Because they are probably not taking that initiative.
Yeah. And maybe did not grab the opportunity if it ever came by.
And yes, I have also lost opportunities. Everyone does. We grab some, we lose some.
Yes, that's true.
So I've also grabbed opportunities and lost a few, but you know, this is what. So I would just tell whoever is listening to me, few years later, how many ever years later this is going to be there for posterity. So yes, just understand when the calling comes, because it is not going to come in a shape or form that you will easily recognize it. Understand it, and it's always better than regret to do a little bit. You know, put a little bit of courage into it now and put in that hard work.
So that's Neil DSilva, the young boy who made his dream come true. And he keeps coming back to school with all that he can give to us, to his alma mater, Children's Academy group of schools. We wish him all the luck in all his future endeavors. Thank you, Neil, for joining us in this interaction.
This was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you. All the best.